Our next guest spent 15 years in the NFL, went to a Pro Bowl, started almost 100 games at the quarterback position, went to Ford City High School, was a 7th-round pick, and had a heck of a career as an NFL starting quarterback, and he joins us right now. The pride of Katanning, PA, Gus Frerotte back with us on The Fan. Hello, Gus.
Hey, fellas, how's it going?
Gus, you playing a lot of golf these days?
Played a little bit. I was just down at my buddy's member guest down in Virginia, so I did get a little golf in.
Now, when you go to member guests, are you the guy who is the lower handicap who's got to carry the mail, or do you come in with a little bit of a higher number and shock the course?
No, I was in our flight. My buddy's the high handicap. I am the low handicap and have to give everybody strokes. So it was not fun at all.
Gus, I may or may not be playing in a member guest later this week where I will be the one getting strokes almost every time, and I'm very excited about it, to say the least.
It is fun, but, when my buddy didn't win those dots that he got on his card, I was very upset. I'm like, you get a dot, you better win it.
Are you a pickleball guy yet, too? That's the game that's sweeping the nation, including country clubs everywhere,
and
Gus.
huge in Oakmont, from what I hear.
Yeah, no, not a pickleball guy. I've never played it.
All right. Either have I. Gus, we had Bill Cowher audio earlier where he said, if you go into a training camp with 3 quarterbacks competing for a starting job, it's a mess. 3 is just too many guys to divvy up the snaps. You've been involved in quarterback competitions. Do you agree with Coach Cowher's take?
Yeah, definitely. I think that if anything, 2 is the most you want to go in with. 3 is way too hard because you just don't have enough. Your receiver, the same receiver can't run the same route every time. And so, the third guy is taking a snap, thrown to a third receiver, but it's the same play, and it doesn't work out the same. So I think that, 2 is the best that you should do to really look at who your starter is going to be this season.
Gus, how much of a difference when those guys are in competition, if somebody's working with the ones primarily, like how do they do the rotations of skill players to make sure that any quarterback that's in a competition is getting a fair shot?
Well, I would say that usually you want to put, your line all has to stay together, so you're going to work with the first line. But your receivers can bounce in and out between 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. They may not like it, but I don't think it's a big deal because it's the same routes over and over. So you want your quarterbacks who's fighting for that job to get timing with all the receivers. And I always felt like if it's an opportunity for 2 quarterbacks to play that year, you want them to have the same opportunity with all the same players. The line, not so much. It doesn't really matter. But with the tight ends, the running backs, everything else, you got to get that same opportunity.
Gus Frerotte with us. Gus, did you ever feel like you won a quarterback job in training camp based on training camp performance?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I think you kind of understand how things are going. You're involved. You're in it every day. You're talking to your coaches. You're in the quarterback rooms. Usually they're giving you an idea of what's going to happen. I don't think it's a big mystery of what's going to happen in Pittsburgh. I do think Mitch Trubisky's probably going to be the starter.
Okay.
That's what I would do. And
okay.
I would say that, that Kenny Pickett probably is going to be the backup because if something happens to Mitch or things not going well, then Kenny's going to come in and get some experience because we know that with Ben leaving, how much do we expect to happen this year anyway?
So why do you think that's the way it's going to go? You make the point about expectations not being sky high, but why do you think it's in the Steelers' best interest to go with Trubisky, Gus?
Because I think he's just experienced. Obviously, I feel like right now Mitch has had a lot of experience compared to Kenny, even Mason. And I think that, he gained a lot of experience being a backup in Buffalo. And I don't think that if you look at his career when he was in Chicago, he had one of the best coaches. I never felt like that guy did quarterbacks any justice when he was coaching them. So I feel like that he's a good player. He's gained a ton of experience in the NFL. And, I mean, with our defense here in Pittsburgh, you don't have to go in and win it. You just can't go in and lose it.
Gus, I think on the outside, a lot of fans say, hey, Kenny Pickett, he's the 20th overall pick. You know, this is a Pitt guy that brought Pitt its best season in forever, and the Steelers took him. This is the hometown hero kind of thing. And then they might look at Trubisky and say, well, he flamed out in Chicago. It didn't work, and it's never really worked for Mason Rudolph. And they'd say, why isn't Kenny higher up there? How does that view of Kenny Pickett, maybe from outsiders, contrast with maybe how it might be on the inside, where it's two veterans and a rookie in the minds of the coaching staff and their teammates?
I mean, I absolutely understand that. I went through that when I was a rookie. I was a seventh-round guy. We had a first-round pick. People knew that we had a new coach coming in, but I think this is a whole different situation. I feel like it's a veteran team because Coach Tomlin and the crew's been there an awful long time. Everybody knows the Steelers really well. They play like veterans, no matter if they're young or old. They just do such a good job. And they want a guy that can come in and be solid. And I feel like with Kenny, there are still unknowns. Yes, he was a great quarterback in college. Yes, he did amazing things at Pittsburgh. We all want him to play. But I don't see any harm in letting him sit, watch, learn, take it all in. And then, he's probably going to be the guy that you want out there for years and years to come.
I forgot about that. So when you're like Chris Oladukin, the guy that the Steelers picked in the 7th round, Gus, 2 quarterbacks in 1 draft class. You lived that.
I did live that. I lived that and actually got to play. So you tell Chris that, hey, any chance you get, any opportunity you get, you got to make the most of it.
All right. So Gus, this is a safe place on this show. We won't blast this out there. You see Heath Schuler coming in. He's the third overall pick. He is the quarterback in question. How long into it in that rookie year did you say, I can definitely hang with this guy? Maybe you weren't like dissing him, but you thought,
question.
Hey, this guy's the 3rd overall pick, but I can absolutely hold my own here and maybe beat this guy out.
To be honest, when I went in and threw the ball with Heath and we were in practice and throwing the same routes and everything, I knew I could do everything he did. Obviously, I think one of the big things that Heath had on me was his mobility. I mean, I think he scored 21 rushing touchdowns in college his senior year.
Yep.
Was up runner-up in the Heisman. I mean, he was an amazing athlete, a really good player. But when I got there and fit in the North Turner system and was able to make a lot of those throws, I knew that I could do it. All I had to do was keep my nose clean, put my head down, and work. And that's really what I did. And I got the opportunity when Heath held out for more money, didn't show up for training camp, and I got to take all his reps.
Gus Frerotte with us. That's a great story. So what advice would you give Kenny Pickett then right now? He's got a 6-week break before training camp. He's currently 3rd on the draft on the depth chart, Gus. What does he need to do when he shows up to camp to impress the coaches and maybe change their minds and make them feel like he does deserve to play right off the bat?
To be honest, I don't think it's impressing the coaches. I think it's impressing his teammates.
Okay.
It's showing his teammates that no matter what it is, he's showing up on time. He's doing all the right things. He's in the weight room. He's going the extra steps. He's working as hard as he possibly can. It doesn't matter when he was picked because he's just going to blue-collar it through and through. And when you earn the trust of your teammates, then the coaches will buy in because the teammates don't really care what the coaches think.
Gus, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. It's also kind of not surprising that Mitch Trubisky, who we've heard as being like this unbelievably good teammate, has seemingly won these veterans over. I'm wondering, Gus, though, when you get to training camp, how quickly can situations in a battle, in like a 3-way battle for a starting job, can things change? Could it be 1 or 2 good practices in and suddenly that depth chart at quarterback gets flipped? Like, how fast does that sort of thing tend to move, or can it move?
Well, I think the Steelers are going to do everything they can to put the pressure on these guys in the situations that they have. Obviously, it's not going to be any game situation, but they're going to have to put these guys through the ringer to find out who can come out on top, who can handle the pressure, even in practice. Like, hey, how many balls can you throw? What are you good at? What aren't you good at? This is deep ball day. We're going to make you throw all the deep balls. Who's going to have the best percentage? Okay, this is blitz day. They're going to look at all those parameters, and they're going to try to put as much pressure on the quarterbacks as they can without getting them hit and making them pull themselves off the ground and throw the next throw. So that's the only thing they can do, and they're probably going to try and do that to see where they are with their three quarterbacks.
Gus, if you were Mason Rudolph and you were on a one-year deal and they draft two quarterbacks, one in the first round, and sign Mitch Trubisky, what would be your mindset right now?
Pretty much go out, play as hard as I can, don't screw it up, because right now I got a job in the NFL.
Do you think in your mind, though, if you were in his shoes, you would probably be thinking, I'm more auditioning for another team than I am truly trying to win the Steelers starting job? Like, can you allow that human nature, or does it creep in even if you're trying to have it not creep in?
Well, you're always auditioning for another team, for somebody, right? For the same team the next year, or you're always out there playing because somebody's watching you. So every opportunity that he gets to go out there and put tape up, he has to perform well. If he doesn't, it doesn't matter if it's the Steelers or one of the 31 other teams. They're not going to take him if he's not performing well. So he has to go out, and every opportunity he gets, he has to do the right thing. Now, he can only throw it. He can't catch it. He can't run it. He can't block. He can only throw it and run the offense. So he has to do those things to the best of his ability. And if he does that, I think he'll be around a while.